ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి, జేఈఈ అయినా, నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
So, okay, good morning everybody. How is going on? All of you must practice in our textbooks. So, that is material supplied by our college. So, at this stage your attention is also very important. Your attention is also very important. We already completed two topics, motion in a straight line, and yesterday thermometry in the sense the scales of temperature, like that. At this small topic, that is also completed. So, if you people also doing practice, it is very helpful after beginning the college. So, of course we can revise all these topics, but so you are very effective at the time. If you practice somewhat at this moment, after coming to the college you are somewhat effective. The confidence levels must be different. So, go through your assignments. So two topics completed. So, first in heat topic, thermometry concept also completed. Thermometry, scales of temperature, like that. So, you can do assignments, homework. At least you have to complete homework problems. Module 1 homework, module 2 homework. So, 2 modules. So, in each module approximately it is 12 to 13 problems only. 12 to 13 problems. So, that means total complete to 25 problems. Just it is conversions, Celsius to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit to Kelvin. So, very small problems it is. So, if you are aware of this, it is very helpful to you. So, next we can start thermal expansion. This is also the subtopic of thermal properties of matter. Now, we are discussing about the chapter name thermal properties of matter. In that one topic, thermometry, that is completed. It is a small topic. Now, we can thermal expansion. We can start thermal expansion. So, thermal expansion, thermal in the sense heat, expansion. So, we have three types of materials. Solids, liquids, gases. Solids, liquids and gases, we have three types of materials. So, we can discuss about these three expansions: thermal expansion of solids, of liquids and gases. Thermal expansion of solids, liquids and gases. Let us say first thermal expansion of solids. So, that is the first topic in this, thermal expansion of solids. Next we can discuss about liquids and gases. So, how the solids expands on heating, that is very important thing. How the solids expands on heating. So, when compared to liquids and gases, expansion of solids is negligible. So, liquids we can clearly observe that if we supply heat energy, the liquid level increases. So, we can clearly observe that. Gases, expansion of gases, if the temperature increases, gas must escape. Of course, it is not possible to observe what is the gas. Air, for example, it is not possible to see the air, but by using that piston method, certain amount of gas is filled. See here, so cylindrical vessel with mobile piston, it's a closed vessel. Certain amount of gas is taken into this vessel. If we supply heat energy, then piston must move outwards. That means, what is the meaning of that? Expands, gas expands. That is a practical method. So, expansion of solids we can observe clearly, expansion of gases also we can observe clearly. Of course, expansion of solids also we can observe, but not considerable when compared to liquids and gases. Not considerable when compared to liquids and gases. So, that is how the solids expands. On heating. So, very important thing here it is. So, you know about simple harmonic motion. Simple harmonic motion. So that means each, that is to and fro motion. Pendulum clock. Pendulum clock executing to and fro motion like that. That is called simple harmonic motion. Of course, if it is to and fro, not all to and fro motions are not simple harmonic. All to and fro motions are not simple harmonic. Remember that. But in the topic we can discuss about that. Here first, simple harmonic motion. That means every particle must execute to and fro motion. First condition to execute simple harmonic motion is the motion must be to and fro. Best example, pendulum clock. Best example is pendulum clock, making oscillations like this. That is oscillatory motion. So to and fro. So for example, let us say it is the solid. Solid means having particular structure, design, shape, everything. So that means solid is having definitely certain shape. So it is consists of certain molecules like this. All these are the molecules, and the molecules are separated at equal distances. Let us say in generally solids, the intermolecular distance is, the distance between two molecules is approximately of the order of 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. Intermolecular distance or interatomic distance, it is 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. That means the distance between two molecules or the distance between two atoms is equals to approximately 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. Distance between two molecules or atoms is approximately, it is of the order of 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. And here the main thing is each and every particle executes simple harmonic motion. For example, so this is the actual structure. Just I am considering two molecules here. Let us say, for our convenience, I am considering two molecules like this. So if we here one molecule, these molecules execute simple harmonic motion. These molecules executing simple harmonic motion means first condition is to and fro. It is also execute to and fro motion. But there is no collision between the adjacent molecules. Of course, this particle executing simple harmonic motion and this particle also executing simple harmonic motion, but there is no collision. See here. These molecules moves this-ward, these molecules moves this-ward. That means these two comes close to each other, but collision does not happen. When we are not supplying any heat energy, if the solid is in equilibrium position, then each and every molecule executing simple harmonic motions. During this motion, these two molecules may come close each other, may far away from each other. Come close, far away, come close like this. But during this motion, when these two molecules come close to each other, there is no collision between the molecules. There is no collision. In that way, these molecules execute simple harmonic motion. Of course, these are the particles executing simple harmonic motions. So this is the original positions. They come closer and move far away, but these two molecules does not collide. That is the thing. Actually, in equilibrium position, everybody like this. Every molecule like this. So now, if you supply heat energy, thermal in the sense heating, due to heating the solid expands. If you supply heat energy here, or if iron rod is placed, one end is placed on the fire, or if you supply heat energy, what happens? First, all these molecules gains heat energy. First, all these molecules gains heat energy. So, this molecule gains heat energy. Due to the gaining of heat energy, what happens? Due to the gaining of heat energy, what happens? This molecule vibrates with more amplitude. This molecule vibrates with more amplitude of oscillation. See here, this I am supplying heat energy to this. Actually, initially these are vibrating like this. Initially these are vibrating like this. Now I am supplying heat energy to this molecule, then it vibrates with more amplitude. Vibrates with more amplitude. More amplitude in the sense it collides with this one. So this molecule collides with this. Collides with this. Due to that collision, some amount of heat energy transferred from first one to second one. Due to collision, some amount of heat energy transferred from first one to second one. Again, this also vibrates with more amplitude because this molecule also gains heat energy from first molecule. First, due to the collision of the first molecule with second one, some part of heat energy transferred from first one to second one. Some part of heat energy transferred from first one to second one. Due to that, this also vibrates with more amplitude, then collides with adjacent one. Some part of heat energy transferred, again it vibrates with more amplitude, collides like this. During this concept, what is happening here? Amplitude of vibration increases. Amplitude of vibration increases. This also amplitude of vibration increases. Amplitude of vibration increases in the sense the solid is in expanding position. The solid is in expanding position. That is the way of expansion of the solids. How the solid expansion means? Due to the supply of heat energy, the amplitude of vibration of the molecules increases. Amplitude of vibration of the molecules increases. Due to increase in amplitude, this collides with adjacent one, then that amplitude also increases, collides with adjacent one, that amplitude also increases. That means amplitude of vibration of all the molecules increases. That is why we can say that the solid is expands. So, due to increase in amplitude, the solid is in increasing amplitude of the molecules is nothing but solid is in expanding stage. Solid is in expanding state. That is a way of expansion of the solid. Due to the supply of heat energy, thermal vibration of the particles increases. Thermal vibration of the particle increases means solid is in expanding stage. So, that is the way of expansion of the solid. Now, during this thermal expansion, we can divide the solids into two types. One is isotropic solids, another one is anisotropic solids. Isotropic solids. Isotropic solids, another one is anisotropic solids. Isotropic solids and anisotropic solids. Isotropic solids means if the solid expands equally in all directions. If the solid expands equally in all directions. For example, I am considering a rectangular shaped solid. This is length and this is breadth. Whatever is the increase in length, the same amount of increase in breadth also takes place, then that is isotropic solid. Or if we consider a cube, let us say, cube. So, it is 3 dimension, cube 3 dimension. If the solid expands equally in all possible direction, whatever is the increase in length, increase in breadth, increase in height, whatever it is, all are equal. Increase in length, increase in breadth, increase in height, all are must equal. That means the solid expands equally in all directions, then we can say that it is an isotropic solid. It is a isotropic solid. Next, anisotropic solid means if the solid expands unequally in different directions. If the solid expands unequally in different directions. So, for example, a rectangle, so lengthwise, breadthwise. Let us say expansion in the length is 1 centimeter, expansion in the breadth is, let us say, 1 millimeter. If it is isotropic means, for example, length expansion is 1 centimeter, breadth expansion is also 1 centimeter, then that is called isotropic. But it is along lengthwise the expansion is 1 centimeter, along breadthwise the expansion is, let us say, 1 millimeter. Both are different, that is anisotropic solid. So, expansion is different in different directions. Expansion is different in different direction, that is called anisotropic solids. So, this is thermal expansion, isotropic and anisotropic solids. Then solids exist in 3 dimension. Solid exist in 3 dimension. That means along lengthwise they can exist, along along area wise they can exist, along volume wise also they can exist. Length, area, volume, 3 dimensions. Solid exist in 3 dimensions. Solids exist in 3 dimensions. So, that is why the expansion of the solid is also 3 ways. So, first one is linear expansion, aerial expansion, volume expansion. Linear expansion in the sense only lengthwise. Linear expansion means it is only lengthwise. Aerial expansion means area wise, or that is also called as superficial expansion. Aerial expansion or superficial expansion. Next, volume wise, volume expansion. So, these are the 3 ways of expansion of solids. So, because solid can exist in lengthwise, so for example, length of the copper wire, let us say 5 meters length. If you increase the temperature, the length of the copper wire increases. Of course, when compared to length, the radius is negligible. That is why we are not considering the area. We have to consider only length. So, area, for example, the square plate, if you increase the temperature, the square plate area increases. So, that is the aerial expansion. Volume, cylinder, for example, you increase the temperature, the volume of the cylinder changes like that. So, solid exists in 3 dimensions, that is why we have 3 expansions. First one is coefficient of linear expansion. So, it is denoted with alpha. This is the first one, coefficient of linear expansion. So, here linear expansion in the sense lengthwise. The expansion of the solid takes place along lengthwise. Lengthwise means only one dimension. Expansion of the solid is only in one dimension. That is why coefficient of linear expansion. One dimension means in only one scenario. That means lengthwise or radius wise, like that, or diameter, any one thing. So, that is coefficient of linear expansion, that is denoted with alpha. So, here let us say it is the length of the rod, initial length L1, it is at temperature T1 degree Celsius. So, initial length of the rod is L1, it is at temperature T1 degree Celsius. If you increase the temperature, length of the rod changes L2 and it is T2 degree Celsius. Here T2 must be greater than T1. T2 must be greater than T1. So, that is L1 and L2. Initial temperature T1 and final temperature is T2. Initial temperature is T1 and final temperature is T2. So, now coefficient of linear expansion. Lengthwise, this is L1 and it is L2. So, that means due to increase in temperature, length of the object must increases. Due to increase in temperature, length of the object must increases. So now quotient of linear expansion is defined as, so definition, it is defined as, the ratio of increase in length, to original length, per unit rise in temperature. So that is the definition of this quotient of linear expansion. So quotient of linear expansion is defined as ratio of increase in length to original length per unit rise in temperature. What is the increase in length in this situation? What is increase in length here? What is the increase in length? So that is delta L, change, increase in length or change in length. It is the ratio of change in length to original length. Increase, or simply we can write change in length to original length. Anything we can write. Change in length to original length per unit rise in temperature. Increase in length. So final minus initial. So that is L2 minus L1. Increase in length is equals to L2 minus L1. Increase in temperature here. Increase in temperature. So delta T, final minus initial temperature. So the increase in length delta L is equals to L2 minus L1. Increase in temperature delta T is equals to T2 minus T1. So that is the increase in length and increase in temperature. So according to this definition, alpha is defined as, according to the definition, ratio of change in length to original length. Change in length delta L divided by original length L per unit rise in temperature delta T. So this is the actual definition. So increase in length to original length, let us say L is initial length is L, change in length is delta L. So according to the definition we can write alpha is equals to, what is the definition here? Ratio of change in length to original length per unit rise in temperature. Change in length to original length per unit rise in temperature. So that is the alpha. Or simply we can write it as delta L can be written as L2 minus L1. L1 into delta T is T2 minus T1. So this is the quotient of linear expansion. Generally we can write it as alpha is equals to delta L by L. Delta L is the change in length or increase in length divided by original length into temperature. Or according to the formula delta L can be written as L2 minus L1. Initial length is L1. Delta T can be written as T2 minus T1. That is the quotient of linear expansion. Quotient of linear expansion. Linear expansion in the sense only one dimension. Alpha denotes the one dimensional expansion only. Alpha equals to L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1. So that is quotient of linear expansion. Simple here. This is L1, initial temperature. Due to rise in temperature, length increases. Then how it can be defined as change in length by original length. Change in length by original length into temperature difference. So that's all. So this is the quotient of linear expansion definition. So now, according to the formula, here alpha can be written as delta L by L into delta T, or alpha is equals to L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1. According to this, what is the unit and its dimensional formula? We can write. So here L2 minus L1, unit of length meter. So alpha is equals to meter divided by meter. Of course, length or change in length, whatever it is, length or change in length, whatever it is, that is the length only. That unit is meter and meter. Unit of temperature, Kelvin. Meter cancel. So alpha unit is, so unit of alpha is per degree Celsius or per degree Fahrenheit or per degree Kelvin. So it is in the denominator. So meter gets cancelled, it is the denominator, it is in Kelvin. Unit of temperature may be in Celsius or Fahrenheit or Kelvin, whatever it is. So that's why its units must be denominator. That's why we are writing per degree Celsius or per degree Fahrenheit or per degree Kelvin. So this is, we can write per degree Celsius or per degree Celsius. Just unit is. Unit of alpha is equals to per degree Celsius or per degree Fahrenheit or per degree Kelvin. So this is unit. And it is, so from this formula we can write delta L is equals to alpha into L delta T. So delta L is equals to L alpha delta T. Here delta L is nothing but linear expansion. Delta L is the linear expansion. Alpha is coefficient of linear expansion, but delta L is the linear expansion, change in length. So from this we can write delta L by L is equals to alpha delta T. Delta L by L is equals to alpha delta T. Fractional change in length. So this is called fractional change in length. Fractional change in length. So general formula delta L is equals to L alpha delta T. So according to this one I am writing delta L by L can be written as alpha delta T. So delta L by L equals to alpha delta T. What is delta L by L? Fractional change in length. That means change by original. Change by original is called fractional change. Percentage change we have to find out means delta L by L into 100 is equals to alpha delta T into 100. This is called percentage change in length. Percentage change in length. Due to increase in temperature, definitely the length of an object must be changes. What is the percentage change in length? Change by initial into 100. Change by initial into 100. Del alpha delta T into 100, that is percentage change in length. So this is the fractional change and it is the percentage change. So this is delta L is equals to L alpha delta T. What is delta L is called linear expansion, but alpha is coefficient of linear expansion. Delta L is the linear expansion. What is the fractional change in length? What is the percentage change in length? Everything we can find out here. Everything we had. Initial length is L1, final length is L2. Change L2 minus L1, that is called as delta L. But according to formula we can write it as L alpha delta T, like that. Next, so here from this, so this is the formula here. alpha is equals to L2 minus L1 by L1 into. From this, alpha into L1 into T2 minus T1 is equals to L2 minus L1, cross multiplication, and this L1 comes to this side, L1 plus alpha L1 into T2 minus T1 is equals to L2. So therefore here L1 common, 1 plus alpha into T2 minus T1 is equals to L2. Therefore final length L2 can be written as L1 into 1 plus alpha into T2 minus T1. According to the formula, alpha can be written as L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1. So from this cross multiplication we can get. So what is the final length? After increase in temperature, what is the final length? L2 can be written as L1 into 1 plus alpha into T2 minus T1. This is the final length of an object. Now alpha value. So this is the formula of alpha. Alpha value depends on what factors? Alpha value depends on So the formula is L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1. L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1. That is the actual formula. So alpha depends on nature of the material, and it depends on unit of temperature. So it is per degree Celsius or per degree Fahrenheit or like that. It depends on unit of temperature. So alpha value depends on nature of the material and it depends on unit of temperature. Alpha value formula is L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1. And here alpha does not depends on length of an object and expansion of the objects like this. It does not depends on length of an object and expansion of an object. Why it does not depends on length of an object? Its unit is L2 minus L1 by L1. That means unit of length and unit of length must be cancelled here. L2 minus L1 is length unit, L1 is also length unit. Unit of length cancelled. That's why it does not depends on length of an object. So whatever it is, it depends on nature of the material. Nature of the material in the sense, for example, if we consider the copper wire, whatever it may be the increase in temperature, whatever it may be the length, it depends on nature for a given copper material. Let us say it approximately 10 to the power of minus 6 order of the value of quotient of linear expansion is of the order of 10 to the power of minus 6 approximately. So for example, aluminum, let us say it is 11 into 10 to the power of minus 6 approximately, I think 11 or 13 it is. So or 13 into 10 to the power of minus 6. For aluminum, its value is 13 into 10 to the power of minus 6. Whatever it may be the length you can take, whatever is the increase in temperature, its value does not changes. For a given material, alpha value is fixed. It does not changes with length, it does not changes with the temperature, but it changes with unit of temperature. That means it is maybe per degree Celsius or per degree Fahrenheit. And alpha does not depends on length and does not depends on expansion. Whatever it may be the expansion of the object, but alpha value remains same. So that is the quotient of linear expansion. And it's this one. Alpha value formula, direct formula. L2 can be written as final length of an object. L2 is equals to L1 into 1 plus alpha into T2 minus T1, 1 plus alpha into T2 minus T1. This is the length of an object finally. So, that is the situation, right. Now, so this is important, it is very important. Alpha value depends on what factors? Alpha value depends on what factors? That is very important. It depends only on the nature of the material, does not depends on any other factors, or it depends on unit of temperature. So, that is only, it does not depends on any other factors. For a given material, alpha value is fixed. Whatever it may be the length, we can consider, whatever it may be the expansion, whatever it may be the increase in temperature, it does not matter. But for a given material, alpha value remains constant. So, this one. So, what we are considering, alpha value depends on unit of temperature. Let, for example, if the value of alpha is equals to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 per degree Celsius, let us say the unit is per degree Celsius, alpha is equals to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6. How can we convert per degree Celsius to per degree Fahrenheit? How can we convert per degree Celsius to per degree Fahrenheit? How can you convert Celsius to Fahrenheit? C by 5 is equals to F minus 32 by 9. The relation between Celsius and Fahrenheit is C by 5 is equals to F minus 32 by 9 actually. But here the given quantity is not the temperature. The given quantity is not the temperature. This is a alpha value. So, we do not use that relation, we do not use the relation C by 5 equals to F minus 32 by 9, we do not use that one. What we can use? What is a quantity we can use here? What is a quantity we can use? That is important here. So, to convert this, let us see how many divisions on Celsius scale? How many divisions on Celsius scale? 100 divisions. So, here 100 divisions on Celsius scale is equals to 180 divisions on Fahrenheit scale. The readings, lower fixed point and upper fixed point. So, lower fixed point on Celsius scale is 0, upper fixed point is 100. So, it consists of total 100 divisions, but in Fahrenheit scale it is 180 divisions. So, let us say 100 divisions on Celsius scale equals to 180 divisions on Fahrenheit scale. So, now here 1 division on Celsius scale is equals to, so 180 by 100 divisions on Fahrenheit scale. So, 1 division on Celsius scale is equals to 9 by 5 divisions on Fahrenheit scale. 1 division on Celsius scale, this is we are calculating lengthwise, length of the scale. So, Celsius scale consists of 100 divisions, Fahrenheit scale also consists of 180 divisions. So, 100 divisions on Celsius scale is equals to 180 divisions on Fahrenheit scale, that is 1 division on Celsius scale is equals to 9 by 5 divisions on Fahrenheit scale. So, 1 Celsius equals to generally 9 by 5 on Fahrenheit. 1 reading on Celsius scale equals to 9 by 5 readings on Fahrenheit scale. This is length, not temperature, remember that. So, now here alpha is equals to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6, per means divided by Celsius, per in the sense in the denominator, this is in the denominator. So, 1 degree Celsius is equals to how much? 5 by 9. So, then alpha is equals to 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 divided by 5 by 9 value. 1 degree Celsius equals to 9 by 5. So 1 degree Celsius equals to 9 by 5 Fahrenheit. Then alpha is equals to 25 by 9 into 10 to the power of minus 6 Fahrenheit. So this is the way to convert. So that is equals to, this is 5 by 9 into 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 Fahrenheit. So if you want to convert per degree Celsius to per degree Fahrenheit, we must multiply with 5 by 9. So that is 1 degree Celsius, one reading on Celsius scale equals to 9 by 5 readings on Fahrenheit scale. So that's why in place of per degree Celsius we are substituting 9 by 5. So that is 25 by 9 into 10 power minus 6 Fahrenheit. 25 by 9 into 10 power minus 6 Fahrenheit. So that is alpha is equals to this value. So if you want to convert per degree Celsius to per degree Fahrenheit, we must multiply with 5 by 9. If you want to convert per degree Fahrenheit to per degree Celsius, we can multiply with 9 by 5. So simple technique. So this is conversion from per degree Celsius to per degree Fahrenheit. Multiply with 5 by 9, and conversion from per degree Fahrenheit to per degree Celsius, simply multiply with 9 by 5. What is this conversion? Only alpha values. Alpha value conversion only it is, not temperature conversion. It is conversion of alpha value, unit conversion. It is not the temperature. It is very important. It is Fahrenheit to Celsius.